Welcome friends to the Beaver Dam, and we are going to have a damn good time talking about Lightspeed bundles. You saw the title, this is how to farm for Lightspeed bundles, and no, I'm not giving you a prescription because I know that you may have bought one Lightspeed bundle, or two, or 7, or 352. However many Lightspeed bundles you purchased, I want to give you a path that's going to work for you, which is hard to do, and so instead of coming up with a do this, then do this, and we'll go over a little bit of that overall, but for the most part we're going to be sticking to general parameters that you yourself can follow, so that way if you bought 1, you bought 7, you can always look at this video and know where you're going next. So and there'll be a little bit of a, addendums here, and of course I made this video for the first time and I was like, I don't know, it doesn't have a nice ring to it. So I came up with an acronym. And so now we have an acronym for it. Just like we have use the forks for fixing your roster and filling in your farms, we're gonna go with saber for lightsaber here with this this farming plan. So starting off with the S in saber, we're looking at solos and side projects. Now solos and side projects, as well as the next set, are going to be a little bit in flux, and we'll talk about that in a bit. But for now, first things first, solos and side projects. Your solos are vitally important because they can solo team, they can get you going in your GAC until you can build up your other stuff. So take a look at who you can use to solo. Fennec Shand, get her some good mods, get her some good investment. You don't necessarily need the Zeta on her, but you can throw a Zeta on her if you want. So Fennec Shand, she can solo teams, especially if you're in like that Carbonite area. Kylo Ren, I used to use this as a solo constantly, and I still have had a couple opportunities in Kyber recently, and I've just been overjoyed being able to use him again in Kyber. Darth Vader, great solo character, and then Wampa's obviously your ultimate solo character that comes from the Lightspeed bundles. But in general, so this is an overall like thing for Lightspeed bundles, but this is actually my own personal way of looking at farms in general anyways. Like, when I'm going for my free-to-play account where I'm going going for Leia as a push and then Executor. Well, Leia and Executor are my first few pushes. CLS is the first thing I want to take up to relic level, and Darth Vader the first thing I want to take up to relic level, because they're two characters that can solo teams. And so there's always kind of a place in every single farm in the game where you're like, oh, I'm going for Jabba first as my first main farm. Well, I'm going to get Wampa up first because Wampa's going to help out my GAC. So solos are very important to be like your earliest relic characters anyways. So take advantage of your solo characters. So don't just take this as like here's how to farm for Lightspeed bundles. You can use this saber list to be able to do the same thing for all of your farms from here on out. So solos, very important. I think it's kind of obvious how important they are. They give you more banners, they get you a start while you wait on the more expensive stuff. Side projects, the reason I have Rose and First Order Officer in here is because your Lightspeed bundles give you everything in your fleets except your tanks. Make sure you're farming your TIE Echelon, your Star Fortress, your BTLB Y-Wing, your Rebel Y-Wing. Rebel Y-Wing's given away if you bought the JML bundle, but the tanks are the most important part of a fleet. In fact, when I first was starting out, I was getting the First Order fleet done and all of that, and I didn't have a TIE Echelon, so I threw the Houndstooth in there and it worked really well. It didn't quite get to the point where it could beat Executor, but it worked quite well. And then I finished the Finalizer fleet, got the TIE Echelon, and I started working on the Negotiator fleet, didn't have the BTLB Y-Wing, and so I threw the Houndstooth in there. And so Houndstooth was my floater until I got Executor, and so like you really need those tanks, otherwise the fleets just don't work and they don't do nearly as much. So make sure you're working on your tanks. This isn't even something where it's like I'm gonna put it in the farming list. I'm putting it as side projects because you should be working on this. It'll take you a couple months, and none of them are like relic levels or anything, so it's not hard. It's just farming shards, which takes a while. So definitely something to look at. I wouldn't work on all of them at the same time, but work on a couple of your fleets at any given moment. So going into the next one, we have accessible. So this is going into, you're going to start breaking into teams, making sure you have enough teams for your GAC. Now, whether you are sitting there and you are, in bronzium, you're in chromium, you're in carbonite, just figure out how many teams you need and make sure that you're sitting in a good spot for this. So like you could spend a lot of time on this accessible and solos, but like if you finish your solos and you're a carbonite and you're like, ooh, maybe I just need 1 or 2 accessible teams, go ahead and skip it. Maybe you bought the Lightspeed bundles and you're 4 million or 7 million GP. Then maybe skip the solos and accessible, because some of these accessible I don't think you should skip. For instance, Finn, Zori, one of the best hold rates in the game, Star Killer, and then Qui-Gon Jinn are 3 of the best teams in the game essentially for offense and defense. So I wouldn't skip out on those ones regardless of your account size. But overall, you're looking for the accessible teams. May not apply to you necessarily, or the solos, if you're one of those higher players that got the Lightspeed bundles. Maybe it's better to jump right into the next step. But for most people, going through the solos, going through the accessible teams, Finn Zori, all you need is get a gear 9 Zori with a Zeta on Finn, and this team will run circles around teams that you just throw on defense and watch your opponent suffer. Imperial Troopers, you have basically everything you need here. Veers and Piet, you could have them at gear 9 and then just drop some Zetas on them and then just have a fast Gideon. You have an amazing team. Emperor Palpatine, Starkiller, all you need is 1 Omicron and Starkiller, no Zetas, and this team pops off. So you need a Relic of Starkiller. And so like a lot of these teams are just, you either Relic one character or you just level up one character. Captain Rex, you don't even need a Zeta or anything. You can just throw him at gear 10, doesn't take any Kairos to get him there. All of his abilities at least level 6, and he's going to be better than any other character you can throw in this team, and he's going to help you on your offense or your defense. Qui-Gon, you have a whole bunch of Jedi to throw at this Qui-Gon team. Just make sure you have that Omicron, and this is going to be absolutely busted on your defense or a really good offensive tool. So go for those easily accessible teams for you. It's going to help you out a lot. Then after that, after you have the accessible teams, what you're looking for is just getting enough to be able to float. You're not trying to, make forward progress with these. You're just trying to make it so that way you can feel comfortable in Carbonite, Bronzium, wherever you are for a bit. And that'll let you focus on your big projects. And yes, I have these big projects in a very specific order, and I will explain. So maybe if you're at 7 million GP, you already have some great teams in your roster. You already have some couple GLs or something. Maybe you skip this side and go straight into your big projects. Yes, these big projects are in a specific order. So the reason I say Supreme Leader Kylo Ren, then Rey, then JML, then General Skywalker. Now we're focusing on Lightspeed bundles here. Obviously, I want you to get an Executor at some point in here, but that's neither here nor there because we're just focusing on Lightspeed bundles. So Supreme Leader Kylo Ren should be your first big one, and the reason for this is because he's the easiest to get out of them. Instead of having to level up BB-8, JTR, and then get Scavenger Rey up to Relic 7, instead you're taking 2 characters from Relic 5 to Relic 7 and Emperor Palpatine to Relic 7, which is already going to be helpful to your Starkiller team. So the Supreme Leader Kylo Ren's just a little bit easier to get to. His events easier. Both these events require minimal Zetas, like 4 Zetas. You can go watch my guides to figure out how I did it. With those 4 Zetas, you should be able to do it without basically any problems. Like honestly, especially now that you don't drop tickets, it's going to be so easy. So Supreme Leader Kylo Ren, then jump right into Rey. They're so easy to get. You have 3 characters away from either one. Supreme Leader Kylo Ren's just a little bit closer. Next up, we got JML. You're probably pretty close to JML if you bought all the bundles. If you didn't buy all the bundles, this is still like the next farm I suggest to people. If you finish your Supreme Leader Kylo Ren and your Rey and you're wondering where to go next, it's always the Executor and Jedi Master Luke. And that's kind of the route that I always suggest to people. It's the route that I've taken myself, and it's definitely something that will benefit your account. That Executor's insanely helpful. You finish Jedi Knight Luke and you're immediately like right there towards JML. You have most of the requirements done. It's just a hop and a skip to get to them. And then you got General Skywalker. Yes, I put him in big projects because you have to farm his entire team of 501st, -1, of course. You have 1 at Relic, but you have to farm his entire team, including him. And if you notice, I'll bring myself over here. You'll notice that's a lot of Zetas, my friends. A lot of Zetas, like a lot of Zetas. So 4 for General Skywalker, 1 for Rex, 2 for 5s, 1 for ARC Trooper, and then if you're generous, 1 for Echo. You're looking at so many Zetas for General Skywalker. You also have to beat the event, which means you're gonna have to get a Gear 12 Padme and be able to get through with a Gear 12 C3PO. And then it's a matter of, do you invest Zetas on the Padme team? Do you invest Zetas on the droids? So overall, it's rough. it's rough to consider this anything but a big investment farm. So this is part of our big projects, and I do think it should be the last tier one. Like the other ones, you're getting a GL out of it. You're usually getting a couple other good teams. This one, you get 3 good teams, but none of them are like meta defining teams. The Padme team kind of falls off because you give Anakin to you know, Qui-Gon Jinn, you give C-3PO over to your CLS team, and Padme's just kind of left as a solo agent that doesn't really have a home until JMK, with a couple addendums, and we'll talk about that at the end. And then General Skywalker is just a pain in the butt to get up. So General Skywalker is definitely one of those ones that I put into, like, you should get to at least JML and Executor before you go around to General Skywalker. As much as I hate to say it, because this was my first PP. Like, no shame on people that love Gas, because I love Gas. I love the character. I love the kit. He was my first passion project, like first major one. And it's just too many Zetas, too much investment. You have too much stuff in your roster and not enough space in your farming plan. Get space bag storage packs. Sorry, reference to when I was a kid. Anyways, General Skywalker's kind of lowest priority, as much as I hate it. And also keep in mind, you could get General Skywalker on your, like when you're kind of dinking around and doing stuff, and throw him in a JML lineup. This is not going to be a bad thing whatsoever. He's great with Jedi. So don't feel bad about, like, you know, leaving the 501st for a while and just getting General Skywalker if you want to. But that being said, those are your big projects. At that point, we are going to expand. We want to expand our Lightspeed bundles, which means a Cal Kestis, perhaps. A Cal Kestis will both lead to JKCK eventually, but also is a great person to throw into a Star Killer or into a Rey. They help both teams immensely. You don't even need Zetas. You just need relic levels. Ben Solo, obviously, when you get him, you should be pushing him up into your Rey team. Vandor Chewbacca for your Dash Rendar team, if you have those Lightspeed bundles. You know, Stap for your General Grievous, which General Grievous is definitely one of those accessible teams. It's not in this list, but like if you have a 7-star General Grievous, you could definitely just take General Grievous to Relic. You already have all the droids, and you immediately have another team. But you know, you get your stat for your General Grievous, you know, you finish off your Aura Singh Bosk team, get yourself a Grief Karga and Mando if you don't have those Lightspeed bundles, or, you know, that type of thing. Finish off this team, get it prepped to be able to turn into the Darth or the Lord Vader counter with BAM and all that type of stuff. So you're looking at expanding your current teams and Lightspeed bundles and making sure you're upgrading the special things into your roster. And then you're going to review your Lightspeed bundles, see if there's anything that you're you know, missing out on. Like, you know, the Night Sisters, you can see I still haven't put almost any investment into them because they just haven't fit in my roster. And so I find what I'm currently doing more important than finishing these guys. You know, maybe you could take your Padme and make a Gidme team, and so you're reviewing and pushing forward. So you're taking a look, are any of these worth doing right now, or should I push into the next farm and do them after I finish a couple more farms? And so these are the teams like, you know, Phasma. Is Phasma really worth the investment with your roster at this point? You have 2 GLs. You know, Phasma is a great team for me when I was starting out because, you know, I was working my way towards Kylo Ren free to play, and so I needed the 2 teams you could make out of it. I needed the solo, all that type of stuff. But nowadays, like, it's really up to you whether you want to invest in this, and this is where you kind of put that end goal of like, okay, do I take the time and finish some of these? I think the Night Sisters have an argument for sure, because, you know, the Night Sisters can give you a beautiful you know, Jabba 2 shot if that's something you need to do. So not too bad of a team overall. They do a lot of stuff. They counter Zori really easily. They do some good stuff. So Night Sisters, I definitely think, have an argument, and you just kind of just review through everything and just make sure there's nothing that you're missing, any teams that you want to shore up before you move on to your next farms. Executor, JML, Jabba, the Rebel Trinity is the best place to go in the game. So overall, that is Saber. So you're going through solos and side projects first. You're going to go through your accessible teams, and no, this is not something where it's like, oh, but I only bought 1 Lightspeed bundle. Like, yeah, you could have bought the Bounty Hunter Lightspeed bundle. You're still going to go Fennec Shand is your solo character. You're still going to go accessible, and you're going to build a Bosk Bounty Hunter team because you have have a lot of bounty hunters lying around, and you can make a good bounty hunter team at this point. There are definitely places, whether you bought one or all of them. Maybe you bought the BB-8 bundle. Maybe Phasma's the thing for you, where, you know, I put Phasma at the bottom and under the review section, but maybe that's something that's accessible to you because you just bought the BB-8 bundle and you're trying to build a couple teams and work your way towards SLKR. If you just bought that one, then yeah, under the accessible area is going to be, you know, the Phasma and the Kylo Ren Unmasked team. So this is very much up to you. So solos and side projects is accessible. The big projects come next, with gas being the lowest priority. I know it hurts. I don't like putting him here. That's the thing a lot of people don't understand. They're like, dude, I value the gas Lightspeed bundle so much. And I'm like, yes, it gives the negotiator, but gas is so hard to justify as a farm in today's meta. Like, it's rough. It's really rough. It doesn't lead to a GL that's accessible. It leads to Lord Vader. It requires so many Zetas, and it's just a team that's solid, but it's not like an Apex Predator anymore. So unfortunately, General Skywalker's on the bottom. But hey, if you didn't buy the BB-8 bundle, you didn't buy the stuff to get Rey or JML, then maybe this is what's top of the list for big projects for you. You know, and then you expand outwards, you're going to get those upgrades. Maybe you get a Krex for your gas team to make it so you can throw it on defense and it can't be CLS'd. I don't know. You expand outwards and start upgrading, and I'll come out with a full list of upgrades for the Lightspeed bundle teams at a future date, but you just wanted to give you some ideas and concepts on how to expand your Lightspeed bundles. And then after that, review and push forward. Is there anything that you missed? Is there anything worth putting some effort into? Is it worth throwing Dengar on a team and making a Dengar bounty hunter team just for fun? Maybe it is. Maybe you need more teams. Maybe that's something that's important. And then pushing forward into the next farm, whether that be, you know, Jabba, whether that be JML, just kind of depending on what you have in your roster. So hopefully this helps you guys. If you have any questions about any of this, feel free to ask in the comments section. There's also the Discord. There's plenty of people that can help you in the Discord. We're all one big damn family over there, and as well as I'm always on there, so you can always ask me questions as well as if you need a roster review and you need some help kind of clarifying, you know, what teams are best for accessibility for you, you know, what teams could you wait until the review portion to do, and you're still struggling with this, you know, decision making, feel free to come on for a roster review. We do roster reviews every time we stream. You can find my stream schedule in the Discord, and it's all according to your time, so that way it won't be like, oh, you know, 3 o'clock Mountain Standard Time, what does that mean for me? It all says it in your time zone. So thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope this helps you guys. This is the farming path I take. I always focus down the solos and as the main thing that I do whenever I go for our new farm. Then I focus on the accessible teams that are going to be helpful on the way to the big projects. And then I work on the big projects. And then I expand the big projects, and then I go back and make sure there's nothing that I missed. Did I not get a Dark Trooper for my Imperial Troopers? Did I, you know, not take advantage of something because it's an extra character that's not necessarily required in any ways? So, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.